Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are pitting two absolute heavyweights against each other, Aristotle and the Buddha. We're looking at their profound, ancient maps to human flourishing and figuring out how they actually apply to our messy, everyday lives. I mean, these are two colossal figures, right? Separated by thousands of miles, completely different cultures, yet both were totally obsessed with the exact same question: how do we actually live well? It's a wildly fascinating journey we're taking today, and honestly, it might just flip how you look at your own ambitions and relationships completely upside down. Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's kick things off with a little self-reflection. I want you to think about what you really desire at your absolute core. Are you grinding for social status, trying to lock down financial security, or are you looking for that deep, unshakable inner peace? Maybe it's a profound, lifelong human connection. Take a real second and just think about it. What actually makes your life meaningful? Keep your personal answer tucked right in the back of your mind as we unpack what these two monumental thinkers had to say. Part 1. Ethics of Character, the Surprising Shared Ground. You know, you'd probably expect an ancient Greek philosopher and an ancient Indian sage to be miles apart right from the jump, but they actually share this massive foundational idea. They both prioritize who we are over just what we do. Scholar Damien Keown points out that both of these traditions essentially function as virtue ethics. So instead of handing you some rigid, unbending rulebook of exactly what actions you have to take, kind of like later utilitarian systems do, both Aristotle and the Buddha focus heavily on cultivating your internal character. Think of it less like ticking boxes on a checklist of good deeds and way more like training a muscle. You train your mind so you naturally react to the world in a healthy way. You build a foundation that just effortlessly produces good actions. Which brings us to part 2, eudaimonia versus nirvana, the great divide. Let's see how that shared foundation suddenly splinters into a radical disagreement about the ultimate end goal. Because while they wholeheartedly agree on building a strong character, what that character is actually meant to achieve, well, it couldn't possibly be more different. Here's the major plot twist of this explainer. Over on the Greek side, we've got Aristotle's concept of eudaimonia. This roughly translates to human flourishing, or just living supremely well. Now, for Aristotle, eudaimonia is an inclusive final goal. It's like a giant umbrella that actively protects and incorporates all those everyday, worldly things we want for their own sakes. Scholars like Martha Nussbaum point out that Aristotle believes true flourishing absolutely must include external goods. So your social status, your romantic partners, your kids, a comfy standard of living, those aren't distractions to Aristotle. They are literal requirements. You don't give them up to be good. You just embrace them with virtue. In stark contrast, classical Buddhist texts point to nirvana as the ultimate good. And here is where it gets super fascinating. Unlike Aristotle's giant umbrella, gathering everything up, nirvana is a state you hit by actively turning away from all those worldly desires. It's a final state of total, absolute freedom from disturbance and suffering. Think of the ancient Epicurean idea of ataraxia, that ultimate tranquility. It's this serene, untouchable state of being that literally doesn't care if you have high status, a family, or a fancy house. All right, part 3, the role of desire, embracing versus replacing the world. This is the exact point where these two worldviews just totally clash. The whole debate pivots on what we should crave and what exactly we're supposed to do with our deep-seated desires for all those external goods we just talked about. Philosopher Charles Taylor breaks this down perfectly. He says Aristotle holds a comprehensive view of the good. It's like tossing all your desires into one big basket. Everyday goods are totally embraced and woven right into the very fabric of your flourishing. You need the basket to be full. Buddhism, on the flip side, holds what Taylor calls a revisionist view. Worldly objectives aren't just rearranged into some better order, they are found deeply lacking and left behind entirely. You replace them with an orientation toward a radically different, non-material good. So why exactly does classical Buddhism view external goods as basically unworthy of our pursuit? Well, the ancient texts say everyday things are marked by 3 inescapable realities: impermanence, suffering, and non-self, or anatman. Anatman is this profound idea that we don't have a permanent, unchanging core identity, and neither do the things we're endlessly chasing. We hustle for wealth, status, or even relationships because we kind of trick ourselves into thinking they'll last forever and finally make us happy. But since everything in the material world inevitably decays and fades, tying our deepest happiness to those things, it just keeps us anchored in suffering. We're literally grasping at sand. Okay, part 4. 3 kinds of friendship, the ultimate test case. Let's bring these giant, abstract concepts back down to earth for a minute. Let's use something totally relatable, friendship, as a test case to see how these philosophies play out in real life. How should we actually treat the people we care about based on these totally opposite maps?
Look at this brilliant quote. Without friends, no one would choose to live, though he had all other goods. That is Aristotle fully embracing the world right there. To him, human connection is an absolute, non-negotiable requirement for a good life. You literally cannot reach eudaimonia by yourself, isolated on some mountaintop. But if you take a strict classical Buddhist view, you might see that kind of intense human bonding as just another earthly attachment. It's an impermanent connection that's ultimately going to lead to deep suffering when it inevitably changes or ends.
Because Aristotle valued connection so much, he actually spent a ton of time analyzing how we connect. In Book 8 of his Nicomachean Ethics, he breaks our relationships down into 3 distinct types: utility, pleasure, and perfect friendship. Let's quickly unpack what he means here, because it hits the nail on the head when it comes to the messy reality of our lives. The first 2 types are utility and pleasure. Friendships of pleasure usually pop up when we're young. Think of your old high school buddies or the people you only share inside jokes with during a specific brief phase of life. Friendships of utility, those often happen as we get older and lean into more transactional relationships. You know, the neighbor you trade babysitting favors with, or that coworker you only ever talk to about office spreadsheets. Aristotle says these incidental friendships, which probably make up most of your phone contacts right now, naturally dissolve once the underlying pleasure or utility vanishes. The chapter closes and the friendship fades away. It's just how it is. But then there is the third kind, perfect friendship. Think of a tree with incredibly deep roots. This is a rare, rare bond based on valuing a person simply for the unwavering goodness of their character, not for what they can do for you and not because they're hilarious at a party. Aristotle warns there are 0 shortcuts here. It requires massive amounts of time, deep familiarity, and, as the old proverb goes, eating salt together to weather life's harshest storms side by side. When you actually achieve that, you hit an unbelievable level of intimacy. Aristotle beautifully calls it a single soul dwelling in 2 bodies. For him, loving a friend for their own sake isn't some dangerous attachment or a distraction from enlightenment. It is the absolute ultimate expression of a successful human life. It's this enduring goodness that gives us a vital, secure refuge against all the random chaos of the world. But actually, because this kind of profound connection takes such a massive investment of time and shared experience, it's literally impossible to achieve this depth with everyone we meet. Aristotle was blunt about it. A friend to all is a friend to none. In our modern world of thousands of online followers, that is a pretty stark reminder, right? True, perfect friendship requires a focused dedication that is deeply embedded in our messy, finite, time-consuming reality. Part 5. Your highest good. Choosing your path to flourishing. As we wrap up this explainer, we find ourselves standing at the crossroads of 2 incredibly profound, yet utterly opposite maps to fulfillment. Let go of everything to find untouchable peace, or hold on tightly to virtuous people to truly flourish. Whether you find yourself leaning toward the messy, beautiful, time-consuming attachments of Aristotle's eudaimonia, or you're drawn to the serene, detached perfection of the Buddha's nirvana, the ultimate goal here is to consciously define what flourishing actually means to you. As one of our sources put it, you have to find your way to the highest good, as you see it, flourishing in this life and perhaps touching the peace beyond. It's a super delicate balance we all have to figure out for ourselves. So I'll leave you with this. When you look at your own deepest desires, how you spend your time every single day, and the exact types of friendships you're cultivating right now, which philosophy is going to guide you toward your highest good? Are you building deeply rooted worldly bonds, or are you seeking the ultimate peace of letting go? Definitely something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning what makes your life truly good.